Hey folks, welcome back. We're at exercise 5, capture.
Yes. So, what we are doing in this exercise is we are taking that one thought from the thought recon that gives us that interior,
Twinge.
yes,
Ugh, yuck.
that ick feeling, whatever it is. It's just suspicious.
I like
that
to
thought.
ask myself the question, which of these thoughts is the most toxic?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You brought
I
up
do that.
earlier, which of these thoughts makes me want to burn the page?
Yes.
Is another good one.
Yes. So,
So that's usually the one that's causing the most damage in your life. So
Pick-
let's get curious about that one.
yeah, pick it. And now we write it in the thought line.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ask questions. I'm a big fan of asking better questions, because when we ask terrible questions, we get terrible answers. You know, when you give your brain like a mission to go on and an answer to find, it will go find that answer. So if you're asking a terrible question, guess what it's going to find, right? What you look for, you find.
So we've got a series of questions once you put that thought on that are going to help you to dissect that thought and really get curious about it. And there are questions that we found are very fruitful from our own experience. There are some questions that aren't really that good, like Aaron was talking about, but just I'd say when you're getting started here, just stick to those questions. And you might just have your exercises literally be filling out the spaces, your responses to those questions.
Yes.
I always like to start with the emotion. When I think of this thought, how do I emotionally show up? Like, what am I feeling in this moment? And then when I'm feeling that way, how am I showing up? Like, what am I doing? What are the sins that I do? What am I detracting about people? Am I gossiping? Am I getting defensive? And do I feel like I'm the victim in the story versus do I feel disempowered? Do I feel angry? Or whatever those things are. Like, what are the vices that are showing up? And there have been thoughts, folks, that I have thought have really been serving me, but when I start to get curious about them and see how I'm showing up, I go, oh my goodness gracious, so destructive. This is one of the ways that, quite frankly, I'm a recovering yes man, right? But when I started to see how manipulative that I was being, when I was saying my yeses to people, oh man, I didn't like that guy at all.
That's
So,
a really interesting
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
One of the things I love about this exercise, I draw from St. Catherine of Siena. She says that growth in holiness requires the two-edged sword, the double-edged sword, which is an increase in virtue and hatred for sin. And if there's anything that I found in this exercise, when I start to look at how I show up with the thought that I think is serving me, oh my gosh, I learned to hate that thought with a passion, because it's so clear how I'm showing up at that point, and it's almost embarrassing. It's painful to look at, but oh, folks, it hurts so good. It hurts so good because Christ is so merciful here as well.
When we ask better questions of ourselves and of these thoughts, we are actually teaching you in these questions, we're teaching you how to start to apply those higher faculties of your intellect, apprehension, which is understanding, and reason and judgment. And so bringing in all of those elements of our higher, of our intellect, we're not so reactive and triggered anymore. We're kind of slowing the process down a little bit.
St. Thomas Aquinas talks about these things called antecedent appetites. And really what they are, they're emotions that we feel. I guess you could call them emotions that they feel. I'm just going to stick with that. Emotions that we feel that have not really passed through reason, right? We haven't really been curious about them. And this actually goes back to the fall of Adam and Eve, right? When Eve looked at the tree and saw that it was good for food, well, that emotion of oh, I'm attracted to this was an antecedent appetite. How do we know that didn't pass through reason? Well, it's because God told her not to eat of it, that she would die if she ate of it. But here, she wasn't factoring that in. If she had, she would have said, yeah, I'm feeling this way, but it doesn't make sense. There's a lie at the root of this because God said it's not good for me. And so our goal here is not to be living in the triggered culture, but to be living in appetites, in emotions that have passed through reason, and we've deliberately arrived at them, and we're happy with them at that point. That's really what living in virtue is at that point. We don't act on an emotion until it has passed through reason, and we've willed it, and we're happy with it, and God's happy with it.
And also remember, you'll have an urge to kind of judge yourself and condemn yourself during this exercise. Please do not do that. Come at it from a place of just love and charity and pray for that grace. that the Holy Spirit can be with you to ask yourself these thoughts. We're just looking at it from all the different angles. And is it something that we want to keep thinking?
So that's what we got for you, folks. Enjoy.
Enjoy.